And now, introducing a man whose debut in 2014 was more highly anticipated than a certain catcher here in Baltimore. He's headed to the Hall of Fame because he never disappoints. He is Glenn Clark.
Good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Paul. Busy day before we get kicked off the air in favor of some show called Simply the Bets at 11:40 that we do every Tuesday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Simply the Bets today. Weekend at Bookies on Thursday. Make sure you join us for that. In the meantime, we're going to have our weekly conversation with Patrick Stevens. Of course, we will preview the entirety of the quarterfinals of the NCAA Lacrosse Tournament. Speaking of which, it's actually a kind of weird how it works out today. Like, we were doing Ravens and Orioles stuff yesterday. Today we got a lot of college sports, a lot of Maryland stuff, as today we're going to catch up with Maryland lacrosse coach John Tillman, head coach of the number one team in the country, undefeated, getting ready for a huge showdown, rematch of last year's national championship game, and, of course, rematch of a regular season game in which Maryland pasted Virginia down in D.C. We will catch up with John Tillman ahead of that big game. And also later on in the program, we are scheduled to meet Donald Carey Jr., the incoming Maryland transfer, who's doing the same thing that Jameer Young is doing, where he's saying that he's keeping his name in the NBA draft, but announcing that if he doesn't go to the draft, that he will end up coming to the University of Maryland to wrap up his collegiate career. Once upon a time, Donald Carey Jr. was at Mount St. Mary's. Now he will be at Maryland from Upper Marlboro by way of Frederick Douglass, so we will catch up with Donald Carey. We're scheduled to catch up with Donald Carey Jr. a little bit later on in the program, so that's what's coming up today. Now, as far as last night, and there being no Adley Rutschman, well, you know what? I tell you what, I'll let Paul go ahead and do his thing, then we'll get into it so we don't step on toes. It's time for our 1 Minute Man. 1 Minute Man today is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. 61 self-service kiosks in the FanDuel Sportsbook. The best place to watch all of the big events this month. The PGA Championship this weekend. Playoffs continue every night through the rest of the month, basically. I think there's a couple, like last night it was weird. There were no playoffs. But basically every night. The UEFA Champions League Final. The Indianapolis 500. The NCAA Lacrosse Championship. Rolando Romero taking on Gervonta Davis. And if you want to reserve your spot for any of these events, what you need to do right now is email events@sportssocialmd.com. Orioles lose to the Yankees in Game 1 of a 4-game set. Did any of it matter? Our 1 Minute Man was there. He's Paul Valley.
Well, it was more the same last night. I actually left in the fifth inning with the Orioles down 4-1 because, A, I was getting cold, B, I hadn't seen my wife, and C, I knew they weren't going to hit because they didn't have Austin Hayes and Ryan Mountcastle. And the bottom line is the Orioles' lack of depth is really glaring with these injuries right now. Of course, they lose a game last night, 6-2. Anthony Santander, it did matter because he hit his second solo home run in the game in the ninth inning, which helped hit the over in the game of 7.5.
There you go.
So that mattered. Kyle Bradish, I watched him warm up in the bullpen. I saw him throw 6 pitches, and only one of them was a strike, and that translated into the game. He could not find the strike zone in the 30-pitch first inning, threw 85 pitches and 4 in the third, gave up the 4 runs on a 3-run homer to lead to Trevino, who hadn't homered at all this season. Look, Bradish is going to have his ups and downs. He's going to have games like that. He's going to have games like he had against the Cardinals. So it matters because you're going to see how he handles a little bit more turmoil, a little bit more stress. There's not much I can say that mattered about that game last night because they're not playing with a full squad. It's like the Ravens earlier this year. Last year, I mean. I
saw this from ESPN Stats and Info. This is wild. The Orioles are not, well. It's a. I'm not. I'll push it that the Ravens, if they had a full squad, could have threatened to win a Super Bowl. The Orioles with a full squad are certainly not that.
I think you're about to steal my tidbit.
With the 0-for-6 with the multi-home runs. Yeah, I saw that from ESPN Stats and Info. There's no real trivia that can come from that.
I made it work.
All right, fair enough. I'll let you can reiterate. It's later in the show. You can reiterate that.
All right.
If they're 0-6 when he has a multi-home run game, which is just nuts. I mean, it's just nuts. The only time it's ever happened that a player has lost, a player's team has lost all of the first 6 games in which they hit multiple home runs. It's just there's no way of explaining that. It's bizarre, but that was floating around last night. Yeah, there's nothing to be said. Now, as far as Adley Rutschman and him not being there and them remaining very hush-hush about it, it's disappointing. I know Paul was fighting with people because Paul, you got to remember, Paul's a big Limp Bizkit fan. So sometimes
I like to break stuff.
When Paul says things, he says it a bit aggressively. And I'll compare it to, there's this thing when people criticize Lamar Jackson that because you hear so much unfair criticism, there are people that aren't capable of hearing legitimate criticism. They just lump it all in together. Anyone who says anything about Lamar Jackson is just Bill Polian. And so I always say, I understand where you're coming from, but you got to break that down. You have to be capable, or we as a collective have to be capable of criticizing when it's fair and understanding when some criticism isn't. So because you're so sensitive to the things that Buster Olney has said about the Baltimore Orioles does not mean that they're above reasonable criticism, but you got to be reasonable about it. Paul, you probably went a little bit too far with the way that you worded your tweet, right? Like, it's not wrong. The Orioles aren't wrong for not addressing it.
I stand by it. I stand by what I said.
They're not. You can stand by anything you want, but they're not wrong for it. They don't have an obligation to. They don't. There is no obligation for them to say anything at all. The point being, it's okay for us to request more than that. It's okay for us to say, but we would like some more transparency here. Or it might be beneficial to a franchise whose fans have been quite beleaguered to be a bit more transparent in a situation. They don't owe anything. That's not the way this works. They owe playing the baseball games. They owe, I don't know what all is on the list of what they owe, but they don't owe answering all these questions. There's a difference between that, and that's where the defensiveness comes in. The defensiveness comes in for people who see the Buster Olney criticism and think that any amount of criticism is wrong. The defensiveness comes in because they say, what, are you going to hold a press conference and say we have nothing to say? No. Like I said, you don't have an obligation to. But even if something isn't your fault, and it is not the Orioles' fault that Orioles fans thought that yesterday was going to be the day. It's not. Plain and simple. We can't pretend otherwise. It is not the Orioles' fault. But meet me in the middle. I'm asking as a fan. And because people have lives, I know the Orioles would love it if everybody could just come to every game. That would be great. But it doesn't work that way. I've got 2 kids. We were supposed to have a science fair last night. As it turns out, because there was some drizzle, there was no science fair. That's a straight shoot.
Some counties let schools out 3 hours early because of the weather.
Whole day,
thunderstorm.
They were supposed to be like hail and tornado. There was supposed to be
a nadir,
like a real. Yeah, there was a tornado warning in place. Yes. Now, as it turns out, it largely missed us. I think it was more south. I don't remember exactly where it was. So yes, it was a bit over the top. But that was on the plate. Now, I'm willing to skip my kid's science fair because, frankly, he does not care all that much. In order to go see Adley Rutschman's first game, but not any old baseball game. Those are decisions I have to make as a parent. And I'm on the shallow end of this. There's deeper than this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. There are people all over the East Coast that would be willing to travel to come see Adley Rutschman's first game. You have a product with great demand coming. The more information you can give, the better. And the answer might be, we genuinely don't know. Okay. But if that's the case, then people probably shouldn't be planning around certain dates. And you can tell them that. They don't owe it in any way. I got to make that abundantly clear. In no ways the Orioles owe it to anyone. But in the world in which it has been a difficult stretch, everything since 2016 has been very painful for this fan base. It is a beleaguered group. This is the most significant thing that will occur since the 2016 playoff game in Toronto. It's the most significant thing that will occur in Baltimore since 2014. I mean, there were big games in 2016. There were games that mattered, but there wasn't one that stood out as particularly meaningful that people circled their calendars for, said, I've got to be there. This is the most significant thing that's happened baseball-wise in Baltimore in 8 years. I guess maybe the no fans game, but nobody was able to go to that. I don't know how you look at that.
Yeah.
This is the type of thing where it's okay to request more transparency. It's okay. Again, they're not wrong. They're not. And it's wrong to try to call them out over that. They're not wrong. But it's okay to say, I'd like for there to be more transparency. It would be a good thing for an organization to give as much information as humanly possible to a fan base that clearly is losing their minds over this moment. It would be a very good thing to do. I would encourage it wholeheartedly. They don't owe me anything. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe my money to buy tickets. I don't owe any time on this show. Well, I guess that's not true. We do. I think we run commercials for them right now. So I do owe that. But outside of that, I don't owe them anything as a person. I don't owe it to them to say they're doing everything well. There's no owing between the two parties. But I think it is fair to say that it is an organization that would do well to do more for their fans. I compared it last night. A buddy of mine that chimed in, who I happen to know used to work for the Chick-fil-A Corporation in a corporate way. I compared it to Chick-fil-A customer service. It feels nice to think that the company that you're giving your money to is going a little out of their way every now and then. And this one would be the one that it's worth it for.
If I may explain myself here a little bit, I'm not naive enough to think that, yes, the Orioles owe something to the fan base. I'm very customer service oriented. I've worked in customer service for 20 years, okay? And to me, when your team has lost, by the end of this year, close to 550 games since 2017, the one thing that we've been looking forward to since you drafted him 3 years ago is Adley Rutschman's debut. You've known for 3 weeks, that because your broadcasters have said it on TV, that the Yankee series was the expected debut. Okay, I know me and the number of other people that I know bought tickets for last night's game because we thought that was a logical debut. Now, that's on us. They never told us this is going to happen. But you know that that's what everybody's talking about. You don't need to have a press conference. That would be stupid. Have a press conference saying we're not bringing somebody up. That's stupid. But leak it to a reporter so that Rob can say, I have it on good authority that Adley Rutschman will not debut on Monday.
Right. And by the way, that might very well be what the Dan Connolly story was. Dan Connolly didn't make any of that up. Dan Connolly didn't just, I'm trying to say this, Dan Connolly didn't just sit down one morning and say, I'm going to speak on behalf of the Orioles.
It was more of a speculative piece than anything else.
Yes, but it was very direct. Anybody who knows anything about reporting would say there were so many finite points that were brought up that he didn't just pull those out of thin air.
Right.
He didn't just say, hey, they'd like to specifically see him catch 4 or 5 times in a week because he was guessing that.
Right.
He didn't say, hypothetically, maybe the reason is because he said it very directly. And so what you're talking about almost certainly is exactly what the Dan Connolly column was.
Sure.
It just wasn't as direct. Nobody said, Dan, you can go print today. We're not bringing Adley Rutschman up on Monday. It was more, Dan clearly talked to someone, and I don't know who that was. I don't. I mean, I know sources that Dan has had over the years because it's not hard to figure it out sometimes, but I don't know in this case if it was Dan asked directly Mike Elias certain questions and Mike Elias gave specific answers, or if it was Matt Blood or somebody else. I don't know. I don't know that. John Angelos, whoever it might have been. I don't know what the case was, but it's pretty clear that the Dan Connolly column, without saying directly he's not going to be here on Monday, was addressing, was making it clear.
And what he said in the article was they want him to catch 4 to 5 days in a week and on back-to-back days. Well, and then he did that. He caught Tuesday, he caught Thursday, Friday, he caught Sunday, and he caught DL Hall on Sunday. So he did what Dan Connolly said the Orioles wanted him to do. So again, it's on us for assuming, without the Orioles making an official announcement that he's coming up, but the Ducks are kind of all getting in a row there. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could have debuted yesterday. And fine, he didn't debut. I'm not upset that he didn't debut. I'm not upset that I'm more upset that the Orioles have done nothing to acknowledge
I think there's
it.
a secondary. I think there's two different conversations to be had, because I do think there's a conversation to be had about
He should be here.
What are we doing? Like, really, what are we doing? And the answer of, well, he hasn't lit the world on fire in Norfolk. That's not a good enough answer.
He did last year.
Right. Like, we know that Adley Rutschman can hit at the AAA level. This is not a debate. There's not something to be learned. And again, if that's the case, then we have to eliminate the other part of the conversation, which is the conversation where we say, well, he definitely would have been here on opening day. Well, if it's so critical that he shows that he can hit again at the AAA level, why would he have been here on opening day? Those two things don't mesh. Either what happened a year ago matters or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then why was he going to be here on opening day? These things now, if what you're saying is, well, he would have been here on opening day as long as he had hit during the spring. If he had hit 140 in the spring, they would have sent him down, something like that. I don't know. But we've been working under the assumption, because all the intelligent people have said Adley Rutschman would have been here on opening day, which is why it was that we were treating this as though it was a rehab assignment. Well, this is going beyond a rehab assignment. Rehab assignments do not last this long. And I get it's sort of a mesh between a rehab assignment and an extended spring training. I understand that's really what this is. But this is a really long extended spring training, too. This is something else. And again, it might end. It might very well be that the date is Friday and has always been Friday. And in their mind, they always knew it was going to be Friday.
I have no doubts that it's going to be Friday and that's the only reason he's still down there. It's maximizing your earning potential.
I have doubts until it happens. Like, I'm not going to say I have no doubts. I think it'll be Friday. You know, if I had to bet, that's what I would say. I can't fathom. I know our buddy Arditi was talking about how the ushers had been told, be at the ballpark 15 minutes earlier on Friday. Like, okay, yeah, I mean, maybe that's the reason, but I'm not really sure why they would need to be there 15 minutes earlier for that. I don't know. It's weird. If you made me guess, I would guess it would be Friday. But I would also think that at this point, if it's Friday, what are we waiting for? Why do we still not know? If the decision had been made specifically that it was Friday, why is that announcement still not made? Because this goes back to what I'm asking for, which is give Orioles fans in North Carolina, Orioles fans in wherever they are, the opportunity to plan around it as much as they possibly can. They want to be there. And the answer might be they still don't know. And there might be something physically that is still some sort of issue for Adley Rutschman. Maybe there was a setback. I don't know, but this goes back to the transparency thing. This goes back to it would be nice to get as much information as possible in this instance because of the, as I said to the caller who called in the radio show the other day, I'm not asking for this for every prospect. I don't need this for everyone else. This is a unique situation where you're talking about the top prospect in all of baseball, a number 1 overall pick. The guy that you were prepared to market with signs all over the city to start the season. That's the guy. Don't need it for Gunnar Henderson. Don't need it for Kyle Bradish when he came up. Don't need it for even Grayson Rodriguez or DL Hall, although I would like to think that there would be a bit more on those two guys than just announcing the day before that they're going to make their first start. I think it would be a similar thing where they would like to say a couple days ahead of time, hey, Grayson Rodriguez is going to pitch next Wednesday. You might want to get to the ballpark. It's a difference between me being, I in no ways am attacking them because they don't owe it. It's much like when we were having the Adam Jones conversation. I don't care whose fault it is. I don't. This blame, we are so obsessed with blame as a society. It's the red team blue team thing. I just want to fix it. Adam Jones had a nice thing in the Players Tribune, by the way, this morning. It doesn't really. It's just a nice story. It doesn't actually say anything newsworthy.
I thought maybe it was like an official retirement.
No, he says he'd like to play more, but like he realizes he probably won't, which is the same thing like he said when we talked to him a couple weeks ago. It's the same thing he said over. It's a very nice piece. It tells a wonderful story about why he loved the Japan experience so much. Like it's very much worth reading. Anything Adam Jones does is worth reading or watching or listening to him. It's Adam Jones that we're talking about. So I would encourage you to go check it out. But I mean, like he said when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, he was like, yeah, if Buck were to call me in August and say, hey, dude, we could use a little bit of help. We could use an extra outfielder to finish this thing off. He's going to go do it. Like, he's not retiring. He's not saying he's done because he doesn't really want to be done. He just doesn't. Nobody's called.
Matt Wieters, I don't think he's officially retired.
Well, Matt Wieters was trying to play for Team USA last year. He was trying to play in the Olympics. He tried out for the team, in fact, and didn't make it. But, you know, it's like the Adam Jones. I don't care. Everybody's all, well, you know, it sounds like you're blaming the Orioles. No, I'm not blaming the Orioles. I'm not blaming anybody. When I was having the Adam Jones conversation, I just wanted it fixed. That's it. However it got here, just fix it. That's it. Plain and simple. And I feel fairly similar. It's not their fault that people thought that Adley Rutschman was going to play a baseball game last night. The Orioles did nothing wrong at all. But that doesn't mean they can't help. And it doesn't mean they can't recognize that there are fans all over the country who would like to be a part of this moment whenever it occurs and do everything in their power to work with them and to create that opportunity for as many fans as possible to be a part of this thing whenever it is. Both things can be true. They can both promote, hey, you can get $4 tickets to games. We're doing lots of good things. We think we're getting closer. I know it's been a tough 4 games, but we think we're getting closer. There's plenty of reason to come out to the ballpark. Celebrate with us. You hear we got crab cake egg rolls now? Market all of that. But understand, this one stands out. It would be like the folks at Pimlico trying to market every race day is exactly the same. Hey, coming on Saturday is no different than coming on Thursday, right? No. You're going to market Preakness Day a little bit different than you're going to market today when nobody will be at Pimlico. I don't even know if they're racing today. I know they're racing for a couple of weeks at Pimlico. I don't even know what the race days are. We understand. There's one that's different. You've got your own Preakness, if you will. You've got your own major event. Just help people out a little bit. That's all. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not demanding it. I'm not saying that you failed. I'm asking to help people out a little bit in the process of trying to get them there because they want to be a part of it. It's an amazing thing. It's an incredible product that you've got. You know, we don't have anything like that as far as a product is concerned at Glenn Clark Radio, but we still try to do our best when we have good products. When we had the Mo Gabba issue with Lamar Jackson and Mo Gabba on the cover of the Best Of issue, I tried to give a little heads up. Hey, you're going to want this. Because I knew people were going to see it and they were going to want it. So a little heads up ahead of time. Hey, you might want to get to your neighborhood Royal Farms. I think this one's probably going to fly off the stands. Little heads up. And I'm not even remotely trying to compare it. And frankly, if it involves Mo Gabba, it's more important. But you know what I'm saying? You got a great product. People want it. Meet them somehow, halfway. Help a little bit, please. I'm asking. I'm certainly not demanding. I'm asking. I'm asking that you meet. And the more silence, the worse that it really is, because it allows for people to just go to weird places.
I'm always in a weird place.
Well, yeah, but you're a Limp Bizkit fan. I mean, we have to, every time we talk about Paul, we got to keep that in mind. It's clouded by the fact that he's been a closet Limp Bizkit fan. It allows people to go to places where there's conspiracy theory, where you're just trying to milk as much money as you can out of me.
There's no way, because last night there was hardly anybody there.
I mean, you say that. It looked like there were more people there than there would ever be for another Monday night game, but that just could be Yankees fans.
Probably. It was mostly Yankees fans. I'd be surprised if there were 10,000 people there.
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know and I have no idea what they were going to announce anyway. But just avoid all of that by saying as much as possible. Hey, we're still trying to make a final decision about that. There's some hurdles that we wanted Adley to clear. As soon as we feel like he's cleared those hurdles, we're going to make an announcement for you. That's it. Just say something. Just anything at all would be good. Yes, I mean, that probably specifically wouldn't prevent speculation. I guess there would still be a lot of speculation. What are those hurdles? You might want to say something more specific. I don't know. But that's all I'm asking. That's it. Orioles will continue their series with the Yankees tonight. And again, if I had to bet, we'd see Adley Rutschman on Friday. But I don't know that.
Going to be a bloodbath tonight.
I don't remember who's
Spencer Watkins against Jamison Tyon.
Tyon, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you say it's going to be a bloodbath. Why is it going to be a bloodbath? Why? Who are you?
If Spencer Watkins,
I thought you were a number one. I thought the two things you loved in life were the Orioles and Limp Bizkit. I thought that was the case.
I do love the Orioles.
And then Mrs. Valley, nice third on the list. A solid number 3. Bronze medal.
I know what I'm looking at with this team. And with the offense right now, with all the injuries they have, and a certain catcher who's not here, and the pitcher that's on the mound tonight, and God love him, but the peripherals and the FIP don't add up to what he had done before the last start. I think it's going to be it's not going to be close tonight.
So the other side of what you're talking about is it really is at some point, is it worse for your baseball team that Adley Rutschman isn't here?
Yes.
And it's tricky, right? Because the answer somebody might say back is, well, it's not like he's hitting any better at AAA right now than your guys are hitting at the moment,
he's
right?
hitting 60 points better, and that's how bad they are.
I understand. That's what you're really saying is those guys are so bad, but they have gotten more out of this pitching staff than I think people would have expected them to. So I don't have the direct answer for that, but at some point I do think it's a warranted conversation. And specifically in hey, we want to see him catch this, whatever number is. We want to see him catch that number of games. I am turned off by the idea that it has to happen at the major league level, that he has to get to that point before he can be at the major league. How much worse is your team if Adley Rutschman was DHing and maybe Tyler Nevin was out of the lineup for a night? How much worse is your baseball team if that's the case?
For 5 nights.
I mean, that's the thing that I'm struggling with. If that's part of what your decision is, really? That's got to happen before he can get to the major league level? That's the case? Really? That doesn't make sense to me. It might be the answer. It might genuinely be that when Dan Connolly says that, he's 100% right. That's the decision they're making. Until he's ready to catch, 5 out of 6 days, something like that, we're not bringing him up. But why? Why? What am I missing? And again, how does that make sense if he was going to be here on opening day? That's the part that I keep coming back to. Why was he going to be here on opening day if there were still things you needed to see from him?
Well, those things that they need to see from him are because of the injury.
And if that's what you're saying, is that you don't think he can catch because of the injury, right? He can't catch that many days.
Well, I don't think it's because. I think that because of the injury, he had to go back to square one.
But I'll keep coming back to this point. The point being, is he only valuable if he can do both things? Is that his only value?
No, not at all.
Again, I get that it's his most electric value. It's what separates him from other prospects. But if he gets hurt again next year, are you going to make sure that he can catch 5 out of every 6 days before you bring him back? Or this is the part that I don't get. I'm telling you, I don't get it. I say I don't agree, but my God, I'm certainly not an expert in any fashion, an expert in much of anything, frankly. But why couldn't you let him DH a little bit more as he works his way back? Now, if what you're nervous about is the injury is also impacting his bat, and that's the problem, That's why he hasn't swung the bat well in AAA specifically. Of course, he was swinging the bat well before then. But if you think there's some correlation between the injury and his offensive struggles at AAA, that's a different conversation, of course. But why can't he be a bat? If he was good enough to be here on opening day, why wouldn't he be good enough to be a bat and work his way back as a catcher? I don't get that. Do you think his bat's good enough or not? And if it is, who is he blocking if he's got a DH 3 days this week? How is that hurting your baseball team? Who is losing at bats? Because it seems like the answer is Tyler Nevin.
For now when Ryan Mountcastle comes back.
But he's not.
He's due to be back on Saturday.
But that's not now.
Yeah.
Like, you knew he was out last weekend. You had the opportunity to make a decision. If you think he's still 3 weeks away from being able to catch that much, then okay.
It's another conversation.
But if you think he's ready to play this Friday and then catch that frequently, then what would it have hurt for him to be here Monday and not catch every day?
Ticket sales.
I guess. I don't know. That's the part that I struggle with all of it. I struggle with all of it. I'm not trying to. I don't know. This is why, to me, transparency would be such a good thing. I don't have the answers. I don't know what the correct answers are. It just, you can't make it make sense. As much, and I know that Dan was on. We should have invited Dan on again, but I know he's busy. We love Dan. We'll have Dan on again at some point. But I know he was on The Fan yesterday and was reiterating the catching thing being the problem. But there's a logic thing here that you can't make that work. You can't make it work that a guy was ready to be a major leaguer on opening day, but is suddenly only ready to be a major leaguer if he can catch that frequently. Unless you just thought his bat was going to stink and you wanted him to catch anyway on opening day. And if that's the case, there's probably a bigger problem in how we've been viewing Adley Rutschman, right? Like, you can't make all of these things work. The math does not add up. That all of these, something is missing here. And the answer could be they didn't really think he was ready for opening day. Or the answer could be that it's not really about how frequently he catches. Or I don't know, but you can't have all of these things all add up. It can't be done. Something is amiss in all of this. Or it's just about having predetermined a date internally ahead of time, and no matter what, that's going to be the date. Which might very well be the case. And for marketing reasons, I would say there's good reason to do that. But to take advantage of it, again, we shouldn't be waking up on Tuesday morning if the date's 3 days away not knowing that. If it was about marketing, if it was about getting the most out of this, it probably should have been announced maybe on Sunday. And not like if that was the specific reason. I'm saying if to all of these things. Everything is an if. That's it. All of it is an if. Because we don't know. Because there hasn't been more transparency in the process.
And for all we know, Adley's going to – they don't have an announced starter for tonight. Grayson Rodriguez will be on 5 days rest, but they generally have 6 starters go in their rotation, if I'm correct. So maybe –
what do you mean they don't have an announced starter for it? You mean Norfolk?
Norfolk.
Oh, okay.
Norfolk.
I was like, what? The Orioles definitely have an announced starter for tonight.
So maybe they want Rutschman to catch Grayson Rodriguez one more time. And for all we know, Mike Elias could come on the broadcast tonight and say – we expect him to debut on Friday.
He might very well, right? Again, I mean, that might very well be the case. Again, why was it more valuable to have him catch Grayson Rodriguez one more time than to be at the major league level? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But again, if the idea was we always wanted the date to be Friday, we had always decided that was going to be the date because we can get a bigger crowd and we can have a celebration, the whole thing.
Ultimately, I think that's what it is.
It might be. I don't know, but it might be. But if that's the case, I don't understand why you couldn't have announced that yesterday.
Yeah, just say that.
Like that's the part that I struggle with. If that's the answer, and it might very well be, you can announce that with a little bit more time for, again, folks that live in Rocky Gap to make the decision to travel up to Baltimore this weekend and make a weekend out of it. That would be beneficial if that's the case. But again, it's all if.
And look, my ire is not – I'm a Mike Elias fan. He's done everything he said he was going to do. I have no qualms with Mike Elias, but it's like Dan Connolly said yesterday. Throw your fan base a bone. Just throw your fan base a bone. All the things that your fan base has been through over the last 40 years.
Did Dan say that yesterday?
That's what he said. That's what the other two guys on the show said. They said he said, throw the fans a bone.
Okay, I mean, I didn't get to listen to him. If he said that, good on Dan, right?
You know,
that's basically where I am. My point has been, since this came up on Friday, and Andrew was ready to jump on me because I get it. There's a sensitivity there with Andrew. There's a connection. My point has never been about blame. It's about just go the extra mile here. You guys go beyond what should be expected this time. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, like you said, it's a generational
not
thing.
your fault. Not your fault. But asking you to go a little bit beyond what you typically would, given the uniqueness of the situation. That's it. That's all. I spent 37 minutes on it that didn't need to go that long, and I apologize for that.
We do that a lot.
Yeah, it happens around here. I don't feel deadlines because we don't do real radio. I mean, I don't have to take a break 20 minutes in, so suddenly we just get going. It's also not like there was anything else going on last night with no NBA playoffs. No, I still cannot believe that neither league said, "Hey, maybe we try to make this happen." And I get why the NBA couldn't. They had 2 Game 7s on Sunday. They couldn't have turned around. One of these series in the NHL, they only had 3 games on Sunday. There are 8 teams, so only 3 of them played on Sunday. That means mathematically there was a series that was already set, and somebody could tell me who it was. I don't, off the top of my head, I just don't remember. There was a series that was already set before Sunday, and the teams knew who was going to be in it, and they could have announced, hey, we're going to start that thing on Monday so that we can get the audience because there's no basketball playoff game. And it might be a good thing for us to try to capture more of an audience.
Don't they announce the playoff schedule well ahead of time, though? If you have people who are buying tickets for those games, and then you say, well, Game 1's not on Tuesday, it's going to be on Monday.
They didn't announce that it was on Tuesday either. They didn't announce anything. They waited until that round was over.
Really?
To announce the entirety of the next round.
Baseball's playoffs, they announce the playoff schedule before the playoffs start.
Right, when Game 1 of the next series will be.
No, they announce the whole thing. They put the whole
right,
thing.
I understand. That's not always been the case. They have moved things based on availability with stadiums, based on that's happened as the playoffs have gone on before. Some rain out moves. They have flexibility. They can move things around. The NHL, there was nothing wrong. There is absolutely no reason why they can't say, hey, this series is over. We've seen this in the NBA before. They've literally had Game 1 of a second-round series on a Sunday afternoon and Game 7 of a first-round series on the same Sunday night, where they just said, hey, let's try to – TV windows are good for us. Let's try to take advantage of that. And if what we have to offer is a Game 1, let's go ahead. In fact, I would assume that if Boston and Milwaukee had not gone to a 7th game, if Milwaukee had won Game 6, they would have tried to have done that on Sunday, where they would have had Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals simultaneously as on Sunday night they had Game 7 of a Western Conference second-round series, just because they try to take advantage of TV windows. But whatever. There was no playoffs last night. It was a real bummer. Anyway, I don't know why I'm an old man yelling at a cloud today is really what's going on. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Make the most out of every day in a Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back in, we will chat with Patrick Stevens, take a look at the upcoming quarterfinal weekend of the NCAA Lacrosse Tournament. That's next, Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, O's fans, break out the orange and black to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Watch the O's take on the Tampa Bay Rays May 20th through the 22nd. Get to the yard early on May 20th when the first 10,000 fans 15 and over will receive a 30th anniversary tumbler presented by Masson. A variety of ticket options are available, including the Orioles Flexible Ticket Bank, Kids Cheer Free, and more. Visit Orioles.com/tickets to find a ticket option that's right for you.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman, diving into where his passion for baseball and for catching comes from and how he uses that passion to elevate those around him in the Orioles organization. Also inside, Bo Smolka takes a look at how the Ravens' 2021 draft picks can make progress in year two, and Glenn Clark offers a very unique tribute to former rival Mike Krzyzewski that all Maryland fans can appreciate. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Baseball is back, and so is the spring seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash-fried pork belly with our popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and take a bite out of the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips. It also features irresistible options like a baseball-cut sirloin with blue cheese, grilled shrimp with garlic butter, and a strawberry salmon salad. And then there's the closer, the Cracker Jack Sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jack. This menu will be gone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com to find out more. Great food, good sports.
We can't imagine why you'd want to, but you can watch GCR live. It's at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And try to guess whether these guys are wearing any pants.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Tuesday edition of the program. If you missed it last night, Stan the Fan and Ross Grimsley caught up with both Bowie Bay Sox assistant GM Phil Rye as well as broadcaster Adam Pohl. Good conversation about what's going down in Bowie and the various prospects there. You can find it right now by going to Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab at PressBoxOnline.com. or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline as well. It is Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we talk some college sports with our guy, U.S. Lacrosse Magazine, The Washington Post, and on Twitter at Discourse, D1S Course. He's our friend Patrick Stevens, and he's with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, sir. How are you?
I am well, and you?
I'm all right. We are going to catch up with John Tillman here in a few minutes. I'm going to pose this to you first. How different is the Virginia team that Maryland's going to see on Sunday from what they saw back in March when they, frankly, pasted them down in D.C.?
Well, I think, first of all, it'll probably be a little bit of a hungrier Virginia team. You getting beat by 11 goals will do that to you. And if you're Maryland, maybe you don't feel like you have quite as much to prove as you did after having been knocked out in the tournament a year ago. They probably still feel like they have a fair bit to prove. In any case, I think it's probably a somewhat healthier Virginia team that's coming in. They obviously had a couple weeks off between their last regular season game and their first round game against Brown on Saturday. But I also think that this is one of those cases of, is Maryland really 11 goals better than Virginia? And my answer is probably not. Like, on a typical day, what's the real answer? Like, the real answer is probably 3 or 4 or something like that on a typical day is my guess. But that also means that if you have a version of Maryland that can win by 7, there's probably a version of Virginia that plays really, really well and can figure out a way to win, like they did last year on Memorial Day. So I expect this to be a much better game than the first time around, and I think so much of it's going to start at the X with P. LaSalle for Virginia against Luke Weirman of Maryland. And can Virginia turn that at least into a 50-50 situation, which is, I think we've talked about this before. That was sort of Maryland's tournament strategy here for several years. Okay, just make it a push at the X and take your chances elsewhere. And I think that's what Virginia really needs to do, because if possession is tilted 60-40 in favor of Maryland, that is not going to be a winning formula for the Cavaliers.
So that was I was going. What is the roadmap? Was the question I was going to ask, and I guess you're starting to draw it with the face-off X. What would the roadmap be to Maryland being vulnerable and Virginia having a chance to knock them off for a third straight year?
Well, it starts at the X, I think, and the interesting thing that I've been thinking about here, when you look at Virginia this season, the one thing that they don't have that they had last year was the best pole in the country in Jared Connors. And he made a difference on faceoffs. He made a difference on transition. He made a difference on defense. There was a lot that he did that made a huge, huge difference. They're going to have good goalie play as well. And I thought that Matt Nunes was solid, if not great, the first time around. I don't think he was the reason that Virginia lost. He had 14 saves in that game. So I think that's something that you're going to need. And I think that your knowns, if you're Virginia, are going to need to come to play. And that's Matt Moore, Connor Schellenberger in particular. But you're probably going to need, Peyton Cormier to do a little bit more than a couple goals. You're probably going to need Xander Dixon and Jeff Connor to have good games. You might need, especially on a warm day on the turf in Columbus potentially, you might need to reach down and get something out of your second midfield, which is something that Maryland has been able to do over and over and over again. I think this is as deep a team as John Tillman has had, especially at the offensive end. You think about, Owen Murphy and Eric Molliver kind of splitting time there at one of the attack spots. You think about Brennan and Chorus and those guys on the second midfield line. I kind of look at them as really sort of difference makers. And if Virginia can match some of that, that's going to give them a chance as well.
He is Patrick Stevens. He's with us here on GCR. Patrick, I was going to ask about the other storylines from the first week of the tournament. I think the obvious one, of course, is Delaware stunning Georgetown, which turned into a hell of a lacrosse game. I don't know what it means. I don't know if Delaware is a team that can follow that up and go beat a Cornell. Like, is Delaware capable of becoming sort of a Cinderella all the way to championship weekend?
They are. I mean, I think, first of all, they have one of the best defensemen in the country in Owen Grant. And so that's a good place to start. When you look at what they have on offense, they're slick. I mean, you have a Canadian influence there with Mike Robinson and Ty Kurtz. J.P. Ward's had a fantastic season. Yeah. And those midfielders, that starting midfield has played well as well. I don't know if they're particularly deep, and I think that maybe is my biggest question about Delaware, if it gets itself into an up and down kind of game. But that's not really what they want to do. I mean, they're really buttoned up, and those that remember Ben DeLuca's teams at Cornell are not – you can see – the parallels between those two teams. There's obviously not a Rob Pennell running around out there.
Yeah, that would be helpful. He was okay.
He was pretty good. There's not a Rob Pennell, but there's a lot of really good pieces. And the goalie Matt Kilkeary played exceptionally well the other night. Had 4 saves in the fourth quarter. Had 14 for the game. So I think Delaware's plenty capable of keeping things interesting. I wasn't sure that they were going to be able to scratch out enough against Georgetown to win. And the thing that I wasn't counting on was that Georgetown's offense was just going to be stuck in neutral all night. And Delaware played a part in that, but I think Georgetown played a little bit in that too. I mean, they had their top scorer, Dylan Watson, who I think had 57, 58 goals on the season. Delaware put a short stick on him, and Georgetown did not make them pay for that. Watson was 0 for 5. So credit to the Delaware defense, but also Georgetown did not take advantage of a situation that was clearly something that under normal conditions that they would have. So Delaware moves on. They get Cornell. One of those two teams is going to be playing in the Final Four, considering Cornell didn't play at all last year, considering Delaware hadn't been in the tournament since 2011. That's certainly one kind of sleeper that's getting in there. And then Penn and Rutgers, who have a combined one Final Four appearance in their histories.
Right.
So Penn doing it in 1988 under old friend Tony Seaman, and Rutgers having never gotten out of the quarterfinals. That bottom half of the draw, none of those teams have been to the Final Four since 13, which was Cornell. They had 15 Final Fours between them, 13 of which belong to Cornell. Really kind of, there's going to be somebody that feels a bit random sitting there on Monday afternoon on Memorial Day, playing whoever comes out of the top half of the draw.
All right. Anything else that just jumped out at you from the first weekend of the tournament that we should share, Patrick?
Yeah, I thought Princeton played really well.
They did.
And I think one of the things that was obviously a big conversation piece last week was the Ivies, and
Yep.
4 of them made it through. 4 teams that played at home. Harvard and Brown were the 2 teams that lost, and both of those teams, I thought, for a half hung in there. And Brown wound up losing to just a better team in Virginia, and Harvard probably just not as much gas in the tank, plus the fact, I feel like Harvard was a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds, and Rutgers is a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds running around out there. And so that's, I think, a bit of a difference.
All right. The other thing that I wanted to cover with you, and again, we are scheduled to chat with him a little bit later on, Maryland basketball lands a Georgetown transfer. They're hoping this one will go better than the last one did. But what do we need to know about Donald Carey?
Well, let's start with the good stuff about Donald Carey. This is a guy that, for his career, is a 39.2% three-point shooter. He shot 36.5% at Mount St. Mary's for a year, 38% at Siena for a year, almost 41% at Georgetown for 2 years. So that has held up regardless. He's also an exceptional foul shooter at 85.7% for his career. That puts him, I think, around 35th, 36th nationally among active players at the end of last season. So he's certainly someone that you're going to want to have on the floor up 4 with a minute to play or something like that. I think the other thing that's worth pointing out, and people will say, oh, he averaged 13.5 points at Georgetown, which is true. But even bad teams have people that average a bunch of points.
Right.
I don't think, if you're Maryland, I don't think you want him to be a guy that's averaging 13.5 points. I think in a perfect world, he is a guy that you have as sort of a perimeter specialist. You look at that foul shooting that I mentioned. Last year he shot 91% from the foul line, but he only got to the line 78 times in 28 games. So that's not somebody that's taken the ball to the basket. He's not somebody who's necessarily creating his own shot. I think if you're realistic about what he represents, which is a veteran guy that does provide you an outside presence, is not a primary ball handler type of any kind. For his career, he's about a 10 to 9 assist to turnover guy. If you're realistic about what he is, and he's probably not a 13.5 points per game guy in the Big Ten, but you think, hey, he's going to help you out on the perimeter, he's going to create some space, he's going to be a zone buster, whatever, then he's going to help you. If you expect him to be like a lead guard type, that's not what he's going to be at that level.
Okay. All right. I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. Anything else that's been going on the last week in the college? I feel like it's been kind of a quiet week in the college basketball world, right?
For the most part, I'd say so. I don't think there's been a whole lot happening.
I know Maryland's going to go play in that tournament, the Hall of Fame tournament, right?
That was long since announced.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Then there we go. Somehow I missed it because I'm a dope. That's the answer to that. Well, then let's go ahead and play our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? I've got 2 that are a bit more modern for this week, and admittedly, both guys who I had utterly forgotten about one particular team. The first, a 3-time All-Star, 3 times finished in the top 20 of MVP voting. 4 teams for Ben Zobrist.
Ben Zobrist. Okay. Well, he was a Cub.
Of course.
And a Tampa Bay Ray.
Of course, he knocked out the balk.
And he was a Kansas City Royal at the start, right?
Not at the start. He ended up in Kansas City.
At the end.
It was between. It was before the Cubs.
So there's one other stop for him.
This is
I feel like that's an Oakland guy.
That's the one, and I had utterly forgotten about him being in Oakland. I had completely forgotten. Well, that one was easy for you. Do you want to try a trickier one then?
Give me whatever you got.
All right. How about we do? I absolutely could not have named. This might be too. Maybe I'm going too far, but we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. I happen to know that this guy once threw a no-hitter because I remember who he threw it against. I did not remember the 3 teams that he ended up tacking on at the end of his career. 4 teams for a 2-time All-Star and a World Series champion, Clay Buchholz.
Well, obviously he was a Red Sox.
Most certainly. That's, of course,
I
no hit the Orioles.
I remember his ill-fated time as a Philadelphia Phillies.
I figured you would. Now, I have no recollection of these 2.
Yeah, I don't really either, for being honest.
Damn it.
Was he a Pirate for a second?
No, it wasn't the Pirates.
I mean, that feels like the sort of.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's definitely the type of thing they would do. And you know what? I don't want to say anything.
Let me throw out. I don't know. Let's kind of throw out. Jeez. Let's throw Texas out.
Okay, it's a good thought. Do you remember either of these, Paul? Do you remember the last 2 stops for Clay Buchholz? Yeah.
Was he a Cub?
No, not a Cub. He was an Arizona Diamondback and a Toronto Blue Jay for a season each at the end of his career.
Don't remember Toronto.
So there you go. All right. How
many games for each of those?
Actually, the Arizona season was 16 starts and pretty good. He went 7-2 with a 2.01 ERA. My God, he was quite good. The Toronto season at the end was 2-5 with a 6.65 ERA and 12 starts. So I mean, they weren't. Philadelphia was
September cameos.
Yeah,
is what we're saying.
Philadelphia was 2 games, and you remember that.
Yeah, but
yes,
in that particular case, that was. It felt like at that point every year the Phillies were getting somebody that was only going to start 2 games and got
something
hurt.
that.
They had Charlie Morton for like 2 or 3 starts, and then he got hurt.
I would not have
did even more stuff elsewhere.
I would not have remembered that Charlie Morton was ever in Philadelphia either. For what it's worth, I don't remember that at all. Are you headed out on the road at all this weekend?
I'm heading to both sites.
Both?
So you'll be in Long Island on Saturday for first up Penn and Rutgers, and then Princeton and Yale. Hustle back down here, get an early morning flight to Columbus, and it's Delaware and Cornell in the first game, Maryland and Virginia in the second.
At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter is how you follow him. USA Lacrosse Magazine. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, my friend. We will talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome, Glenn. Take care.
It's Patrick Stevens joining us as he does each and every Tuesday here on GCR to talk a little college sports. And with that in mind, when we come back in, we're going to catch up with the head coach of the Terrapins. We'll catch up with John Tillman as they get ready for a big-time showdown with Virginia on Sunday. If you have not picked up, you know what? Yeah, if you haven't picked up the print issue of Press Box yet, I'd make sure you do that. We're starting to put some plans together for the next print issue, but right now you can still get this one. Some guy named Adley Rutschman. I don't know if you heard of him. Nobody's ever talking about that guy. He's on the cover. Great cover story from Luke Jackson. Go pick it up today for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman, diving into where his passion for baseball and for catching comes from and how he uses that passion to elevate those around him in the Orioles organization. Also inside, Bo Smolka takes a look at how the Ravens' 2021 draft picks can make progress in year two, and Glenn Clark offers a very unique tribute to former rival Mike Krzyzewski that all Maryland fans can appreciate. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. If you didn't see it yesterday, the Ravens have signed a linebacker named Vince Beagle, and they've signed a linebacker named Vince Beagle. That's what. In fairness, when they signed L.J. Ford, I didn't have a lot to say about that. I didn't think nothing of it, but I really could not tell you all that much about Vince Beagle. Was most recently with the Dolphins for 3 years. Was helpful. Didn't play at all in 2020. Barely played last season. Was helpful in 2019. Who knows? I mean, why not? It doesn't seem like it can hurt, but the Ravens did make a move yesterday. Had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his schedule, getting ready. I don't know if you've heard of kind of a big game coming up on Sunday, rematch of last year's national championship. John Tillman right here on GCR. Well, it's time to talk some lacrosse here on GCR, and joining us now, the head coach of the number one team in the country, the Big Ten champs. They're 15-0 after they beat Vermont this weekend in the first round of the tournament. And now they're getting ready for Virginia this Sunday out in Columbus, 2:30 on ESPNU. He's Coach John Tillman from the University of Maryland. He's with us on the program. Coach, it's Glenn. It's good to chat with you as always. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
Coach, as directly as I can, how has your team managed to avoid complacency as this season's gone on and you have posted lopsided defeats to some of the best teams in the country? How have they not had even one kind of stinker performance all year?
I think it's a credit to the leadership of the team. We have a lot of older guys that, have been here a while. I think they have really high standards. Each week they kind of reset and realize that whatever we did last week, whether it was as well as we'd like or not as well, they just kind of reset their focus and start all over again. And then try to play the best game we can and just kind of keep improving. So I think it starts with that leadership, and then obviously just the dedication our guys have shown, just to work hard, each week and really manage all the things that student athletes have to do. And then obviously our staff, I'd be remiss if I didn't, mention our coaching staff. Those guys do a great job. I'm really lucky to have the coaches on staff that we do that get these guys ready.
I know you brought in some transfers that had nothing to do with it, but did going through an undefeated season that came up short a year ago, did that fuel any of this fire? I mean, you and Patrick and I talked about it before the season. Like, did guys use that as motivation to say, we're not going to have a day where we're not our sharpest?
I don't think our guys look that big a picture at it. We play a tough schedule, and typically, and I think these are kind of atypical years. Like with the schedule we play, we anticipate there being some days where it doesn't go as well as we like, or maybe we drop a game, but we realize that's part of the journey. So that's why we schedule so tough, and so. Yeah, it's a little surprising. We didn't experience that this year, just because I have so much respect for the teams we do play.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never, anything bigger than, hey, let's just be the best version of ourselves each day and each week, and then reset. I don't think anybody once brought up trying to go undefeated. That was really never one of the big things we talked about. I certainly feel like now that we're in the playoffs, you've gotten through the Big Ten regular season, you've gotten through the tournament, and now your sole focus is, hey, this is the end of the road. If we lose, it's over. So we got to make sure we get another week together. And certainly yesterday we're able to do that. And then it's just, again, a week at a time. So we know we have the defending champs this weekend, and they are terrific. And until somebody beats them, they are the champs. So we've got a lot of work to do this week to try to be able to compete with them.
You know, we're going to talk about that obviously here in a second. I just wanted to talk about the thing that's jumped off the page at me this year is how Luke has gotten even better at the dot for you guys. I don't know. Am I crazy to think that's the biggest difference between a year ago and this year? Is that, my word, it's very difficult to fathom how teams beat you because you get the ball and then you go give it to that offense that can go score. How significant has Luke's growth been to becoming this complete of a lacrosse team?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. You statistically, if you did break down from last year to this year, I think you'd have to start there. You just see statistically we were sub 50% last year. And now we're mid-60s. That's a big jump in 1 year. So a lot of that credit, goes to Luke and his wing guys, but also Carol Kennedy does an awesome job coaching those guys up, and Michael Roach and Gavin Ty and Shea Keithler. Those guys beat each other up every week and just really push and challenge each other to get all of them ready. But obviously Luke seems to be getting the bulk of the work, but I think we have confidence in any of those guys if, we needed them to go in.
He is Coach John Tillman. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio as they're getting ready for Virginia. This is kind of a big one, Coach, on Sunday, to say the least. How do you avoid, block out any of the other stuff, what happened a year ago, what happened in the regular season? How do you avoid all of that and just keep this singularly focused on this being just the next opponent?
I'm not sure you can. I think, the guys all know what happened last year. So I don't you obviously get to the end of last year and it doesn't go your way. I don't think there's a way that I could tell our guys, hey, just another game. Because I'm not sure they would feel that way, and then I don't really want to give you the coach speak answer. Last year they came super close. It was heartbreaking. So that to go through the NCAA playoffs, to win a championship, you have to play great teams. And obviously Virginia's won, and they're the champs. And they're the champs until someone beats them. So I think our guys, know what happened last year. I think it's a sense of motivation. It's a sense of respect because we did lose to them. So we have to prove that we can do it in the postseason. So I think that's something that, the guys hopefully, will think about this week as we prepare, realizing that we have to play our best game of the year. And, early in the year we played them. I know they had some injuries. They were dinged up and now they're healthy and they're playing great and they looked amazing the other night. So, again, it's going to be a tall task, but, I'm excited about getting to work with these guys and have this week of prep to go out and see what we could do.
I was going to bring that up. How are they different? Because you referenced when you guys played in D.C., they were a bit banged up. How have you been able to tell how different they are at this point in the season from when you faced them in March?
Yeah, I think you just look at the way guys are moving around, sometimes you can tell guys are limping a little bit or they're dinged up a little bit. You can tell that from your own guys. Sometimes you can tell that from the other guys. And then you just hear things, from people, hey, I heard this guy's dinged up. I heard this guy's dinged up. And you knew that was the case. So I think we got that time where they were still, pretty beat up. And then I think the way the schedule worked out was great for them. They got some time off towards the end to rest up and heal up and obviously put their best foot forward.
Is there any part of you, Coach, that's concerned about, hey, what happens if we do, take a punch to the mouth early on in a game? Is there any part of you, just because you guys have been, cruising and playing so consistently well, do you get at all nervous about it? Is there anything you can do to prepare for that and how you practice?
Yeah, I think we talk about it a lot. I think our kids are realistic enough to know that, at some point, much like the Ohio State game, we were down 4 goals.
Yeah.
And I felt like they were kind of taking it to us. They know that, those situations are there if the other team's executing at a high level. And if you combine that with us being sloppy or just, maybe being a little bit reckless. So we have to make sure we realize if things don't go our way, we have to have a next play mentality and just not get caught up in the scoreboard and just realize, that's part of where we are. The games are going to be tougher. There will be times when the other team, has some momentum and they'll be, putting a lot of pressure on you. But what's most important is how you respond to it. And I think our guys have, a lot of these guys have been here for a while, so they've seen that. Maybe they didn't see as much this year, but they've seen it, and they've had those moments. So you reflect back on those experiences. And then you just have to make sure that, again, stay committed to each other, keep playing hard for each other. When we were in that spot, you responded well. But you turn on the film of Virginia, they score goals. They score goals in bunches, and they did that to us the first time. They go on runs, and they're talented.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be able to take some of those punches. Much like in a boxing match, you're going to get hit. You just got to be able to take those punches.
Just another couple minutes here with Coach John Tillman as they get ready for Virginia this Sunday. Coach, I know it helps to have good players, and that goes a long way when you're in these situations. We referenced Luke, and I think a lot of these guys, I think everybody expected Logan was going to have a big season this year, and DeMeo and guys like that. Is there a player on the roster that you say, I don't know that this particular player has gotten enough credit for how they've grown and some, maybe the pride that you have in what they've done to get you guys to this point where you are, standing down a return to championship weekend and sitting at 15-0?
Yeah, I think, a lot of our guys have gotten accolades. I think a guy like John Geppert is a long stick for us that has done an incredible job that, he's got another year and he'll be back, but, you don't hear a lot about, but he does a great job in the middle of the field for us. Jake Higgins is a guy that has done an amazing job for us. Bubba Fairman, who was an offensive guy who's now playing defense, has done an awesome job. Alex Smith is a guy that came back from injury and now gives us a 4-man defensive midfield rotation. Those guys do a great job for us and maybe don't get talked about a lot. I think Jack Brennan and Jack Corus have really had great years for us. And last year didn't have those roles, so their elevation has been great. Eric Maliver has had an increased role this year, and he's done a great job. Ajax Zapatello, first year starting, has plugged into where Nick Rill was, and we couldn't ask him to be Nick Rill, but he's been so effective, and he's been really, really good.
How do you keep things loose, Coach? How do you keep things a lot of people would see a lot of pressure with being undefeated and would see a lot of pressure with national championship expectations. How do you go about keeping things loose and making sure guys don't ever allow that to sort of overwhelm them?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, pressure is a privilege. It's kind of the way we look at it is, you come to a place like Maryland, lacrosse means so much. So it's a privilege to have people coming out and supporting us and people that care so much. So, to me, it's a blessing. I don't, necessarily feel pressure per se. I know our guys just try to be their best, and obviously that's our saying. But if you're just really dialed in to be the best version of you, and then collectively we try to do the same thing, win, lose, or draw, if that's our approach, even if it doesn't go your way, you're going to reflect back like we had the right mindset. So, with this comes big challenges, and sometimes it means getting your heart broken. But as we talk about, to me, living life is, like taking on those challenges and taking on some risk and, kind of not knowing what's going to happen. But, the more you risk, the bigger the reward, and sometimes the bigger the disappointment. But, to me, I don't think life's about just being safe. It's going out there and taking on those challenges, realizing that, if it doesn't go your way, sure, there's heartbreak. But I think with our guys, the journey and the growth that we see, for them as young men when they come in and men when they leave. That's all part of it, the fun they have. And I think that's part of what this group does. They have a good attitude at practice. The locker room situation for us has been so much better. We moved into football's old locker room.
Oh, wow.
And we created the feel and more like of a welcoming feel to it. It's a much bigger locker room. It's probably 5 times bigger than our old one. And, we have TVs in there. We have couches. We have beanbag chairs. We have a ping pong table. We have dome hockey. We have little fiddlesticks and little lacrosse goals in there. They have video games and stuff like that in there. So I think there's a sense of, like, when you come to the locker room, regardless of if you had an exam or a big paper, you can kind of get away from all that. You're with the guys. You're spending time together. You're having some fun. And I think anybody that's been on a team at any level, the locker room's a pretty sacred and special place. And, when you're in there, it's you and the guys. You can kind of let your hair down. You can get to know each other. And so I think that atmosphere has been fun. And, I think with our guys, a little bit of fun goes a long way. So it's important for us to realize, yeah, they need to laugh. They need to joke. When you need to be serious, you need to be serious. But they're young people. So along the journey, you got to make sure you sprinkle some of that in, or it's just going to be boring. It's going to get mundane. And I think the guys kind of check out mentally.
Yeah, I can understand. That's a really fascinating answer, Coach. I really appreciated that. Look, I wish this one was closer to home on Sunday so that more of us could be there, but we're going to look forward to seeing you guys Sunday, 2:30, taking on Virginia in the quarterfinals. Coach John Tillman, best of luck. Thank you, as always, taking the time for us, and look forward to chatting with you again here as we get a little bit closer to Memorial Day, all right?
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your support.
It's Maryland lacrosse coach John Tillman with us here on GCR ahead of the game on a Sunday, and I appreciate his answer about it. Look, man, I'm not trying to block it out. I'm not. Everybody knows. Everybody knows what happened, and maybe it's easier because you already had the kind of revenge game, if you will, earlier on this season where Maryland defeated Virginia, but this one far more important, and the stakes of, hey, this has been the team that has eliminated us in each of the last 2 NCAA tournaments, that probably shoulders a bit more burden than when you met, frankly, with nothing at stake in the regular season. So I appreciated the honesty of his answer there. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police. Make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. From Dave. Dave says, Glenn, as far as your point about the Orioles and what they should say, if they don't know what the answer is, then how could saying anything at all be beneficial? I feel like the only way they could say anything is once they know exactly what the date is going to be. I agree with you that they should give more of a heads up, but I'm okay with that being today or even tomorrow if the answer is Friday. 2 things, Dave. 1, uniquely, they were as aware as everyone else was about people circling Monday on the calendar. People have brought up that apparently Ben McDonald said something that wasn't direct but was, kind of loose around that. I'm not blaming the Orioles for Ben McDonald, especially if he didn't act. If Ben McDonald had come on the air and said, Adley Rutschman was going to be here on Monday, then they definitely have an obligation to set the record straight. There's no question about that. But if all he said was like, hey, it could be a more exciting series or something, like that's the sense that I got of what he said
That's basically
about it.
what he said, yeah.
I don't know if that falls into the obligation category, but it recognizes they knew what everybody else was saying. So again, you got to separate obligation from benefit. And the benefit to your fan base is, hey, I want you to know that we're on the same. We want you to come out. We want to see you at the ballpark. We want to have a great week of games, and we want to have crowds there, and market yourself. But don't leave your fans feeling like they've been bamboozled by anyone, even if it wasn't you. This will happen sometimes where a company will find out that a customer was taken advantage of by someone else, and they'll reach out to try to help that customer. You'll find out that somebody bought a fake pair of shoes or something like that. You see these stories all the time on social media. I'm not saying that the Orioles should refund anyone who bought a ticket last night. They still got to go to the game. I found out there was when I said my tickets were available, there was a mom who reached out to me and said, I have 2 sons. I'd love to take them. I said, that's great. Awesome. Go have fun. You still got value for your ticket. And you didn't pay extra because you thought it was going to be Adley Rutschman's first game, because there was clearly no demand for the tickets, as Paul pointed out already. The Orioles don't need to refund you for your ticket for last night. Now, you said you could have exchanged it for another date.
So I exchanged 2 of my tickets.
Okay.
They made an exception for me.
Okay.
You're not supposed to exchange less than 24 hours before the game, and they made an exception because my two of my buddies were supposed to go, and they both couldn't last minute.
Okay, well, it's nice. They did a nice thing.
Yeah.
Credit to the Orioles for that. That's a nice thing for them to do and say, hey, we'll help you out. We'll work with you as a customer. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Just work with us. And going back to your point, like, if they know it's going to be Friday, why does it need to be tomorrow? Why couldn't have been yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
If they know, again, your first premise is if they don't know. Okay, if they don't know, then you're starting to see the same thing happen for Friday that we saw happen for Monday. You're starting to see more people sort of point to that date. Again, say something. Anything at all. You want to try to give him a call?
He just got back to me. He said he's not available every day until 4 p.m. I don't know
that's
if that's his
awkward.
time or our time.
That's awkward. Okay, we will have to get that straightened out. Having a day today. Unfortunately, apparently Donald Carey is not available to join us this morning as we thought he was. We'll try to get that squared away. You and I will deal with that in a minute.
Sure.
We'll try to get that squared away to have him join us later on in the week. We were supposed, I think you heard me say that we were supposed to have Muggsy Bogues join us today. He's going to join us tomorrow. These things have a tendency of happening where just things look a certain way, but Muggsy's going to join us tomorrow. We're hoping that Donald Carey is going to get that. Will be able to join us as well. We'll make it all happen. We are, these things come up and we just sort of deal with them. But yeah, if they don't know, then you might want to step up and say if you don't know today whether the answer is going to be Friday or not, I'm not sure how that could be. What could still be determined between now and Friday? We're getting into some muddy waters, Dave, in playing these hypothetical games. If you don't know today that you can call up Adley Rutschman on Friday, then you're losing out on the benefit of the marketing aspect of Adley Rutschman's first game. And there would be an argument that at this point you shouldn't decide on Thursday that you could call him up on Friday because you're just not getting enough of an opportunity. I'd like to hope that they'll know a few days ahead of time, and I can't fathom what it would be that would make them know definitively tomorrow that Adley Rutschman could come up on Friday, but not today. That's a tough thing. Could they announce it tonight? Yes, of course, and that's great. I hope they do. But why couldn't they have announced it yesterday? Is my question. I just think as much as you possibly can, as much headway as you can give to your fan base to make decisions. Get a babysitter. Not everybody is in a place where they can just sort of up and make the decision to go to a game. Help out as much as you possibly can. That's my point. And if there is some unique reason why you can't know, that's different. I can't speak to that. I don't know. I just can't fathom what it would be. What uniquely, like, are you deciding that until Adley Rutschman has a 3-hit game, he can't come to Baltimore? And as soon as he has that, then you'll announce it? Like, I don't know. I just don't know what that could be. So, Dave, that's what I'm struggling with. From Jeremy. Not Jeremy Kahn, I don't think. I don't think it's Jeremy Kahn. Jeremy says, Glenn, did you see that there was something floating around that maybe even some of Adley's family was not in on it? I got a weird. It's so Jeremy. It's so funny you bring that up. Somebody named Colin messaged me this morning and said Adley's uncle is in town, hoping to see him this week. I find that really difficult. Again, unless he made plans so well in advance that he was just like, the hell with it, I'm going to go anyway. Right? Like, if Adley Rutschman's uncle decided 3 weeks ago, hey, 1 week at single A, 1 week at AA, 1 week at AAA, and just decided to go ahead and book everything then, and then at that point, the hell with it, I'm here, I'm just staying here. I just don't. That one confuses me a little bit more. I'm not saying it's impossible, Colin. I don't know that. You're telling me something. If you're saying that's, I just don't know that if that's true. Right now, I can't even really react to that because I just feel like it's possible that it could be made up. Although I don't know. I don't know who this person is. Colin appears to be a bot. Not a bot, but he's somebody. This looks like a burner account. So I don't know. Maybe that's Adley's uncle. Maybe that's who it is. I don't know. It's very weird.
I can't imagine the family member wouldn't know.
You say that, except for the fact that, like, when we had his mom on, she definitely didn't seem to know.
Mm-hmm.
And for what it's worth, I can say with certainty they had no idea that he was going to be going to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can say with certainty that the family had plans to be in Bowie, and then because of the rain situation, that got moved. But we all know what that was. It was about rain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was rain in the forecast.
And maybe
they made a decision.
Maybe the Orioles told him a date, and they said, look, we know you want to tell your family. We can't have you tell anybody because we can't risk it getting leaked.
But it's also possible that the family just made and again, I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to this whatsoever because I don't know who this person is. And so maybe I shouldn't even be bringing it up, honestly, because I don't know who this person is that's telling me this. Somebody else Jeremy emailed and said that he had heard it too. But I don't know. I have no idea, Jeremy. I couldn't tell you. We're all spending a lot of time talking about something that there is no answer to. It's frustrating, and I imagine that if they don't know, it's probably quite frustrating for his family. I'd like to hope that's not the case. I'd like to hope that he knows and they know, but, you know, to your point, Paul, like, is there risk of word getting out and spoiling a surprise? I guess, but why is it a surprise? What? This isn't professional wrestling.
He's not going to debut at WrestleMania?
Like, this isn't, there's going to be 70,000 people there and you want to have a big surprise moment. Like, you need to create the moment. Could you imagine if they just didn't announce ahead of time and Adley Rutschman shows up in the second inning?
He's just in the starting lineup with no announcement whatsoever.
If he was in the starting lineup, there would still be a few hours for people to get there. I mean, like, could you imagine if they started the game and all of a sudden Adley Rutschman was
now
just
catching number 35,
right.
Adley Rutschman.
Like, wait, don't you have to make a roster move? Nah, we changed things.
Fireworks go off, a pyro display.
That's why the surprise. Like, why would you be bothered by somebody spoiling the surprise? Why does it need to be a surprise? Like, what am I missing here? What is the benefit of there being a surprise? Let as many people know as possible. Am I crazy? What? We're acting like this is when Roger Clemens signed with the Yankees and Susan Waldman was freaking out in the broadcast booth. This is the most dramatic thing in the history of baseball. Like, what are we doing? You don't remember that day? Roger Clemens.
I remember
one
when
year
he announced,
hadn't signed, and it was into the season.
It was like June, and he made the announcement. He ended up making like 18 starts for them, and I remember like he went in the broadcast booth and said, "Yeah, I'm coming back to pitch."
Well, he was sitting in the owner's box,
right?
And like they put up on the screen, Roger Clemens has signed with the Yankees and is joining the team. And nobody, like, legitimately told no one.
Mm-hmm.
So the reaction was quite genuine from everybody, and in particular Susan Waldman. I think Susan Waldman is excellent as a broadcaster, but Susan Waldman, I think, just happened to be the one. Oh, I wish I could find it because it was so good. Susan Waldman, Roger Clemens. So there was a Vice story about it a couple years ago. I just want the video. I just want the why they did a whole damn think piece about when Susan Waldman freaked out about Roger Clemens, and they didn't include a link to the video. What the hell is going on? All right, I'll probably never. Is this it? Maybe this is it. A lot of build-up. A lot of build-up that I'm doing here. A lot of build-up. Of course, there's a State Farm. There's a 20-second video and a 20-second ad ahead of time, because why wouldn't that be the case? America. Hang on. Let's see if this is it. Oh, no, that's just him. That's him addressing the crowd. Damn it. I want the Susan Waldman video. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? I just don't know why it would be a surprise is the point that I'm trying to make. I had a finish this. It is so complicated, though. We'll see how this goes. This comes to us from Mediate. Finish this. Name. It's a blank. It's 3 words. It's a name. It's a person's name. A famous person's name. 3 words. All right? Just stop for a second. Blanks. So 3-word blank. Blank, but it's 3 words and it's a name. Blanks. For serving blank, 2 words.
I'm sorry. You got to start over because I put down 3 blanks.
Uh-huh. That's the name.
Right.
Then that person blanks. So there's another blank afterwards.
Blanks.
Blanks.
Okay.
For serving blank, 2 words. Shaped like, this is another name, blank, blank, but with an apostrophe. There's a possessive at the end. So look at how I'm saying this. Blank, blanks, blank.
Like blank, blanks,
blank at 2011 party.
At 2011? Why is this just coming out now?
I don't know. I have not read the story yet. It was merely the headline that jumped out for me. And it's cheeky, but there's an element of it that's not cheeky. That's all I'll say.
So it's blank, blank, blank.
That's a name.
Blanks for serving blank, blank shaped.
Like
blank, blanks, blank.
At 2011 party.
At 2011
And the other
party.
blank, blank, that with the possessive
Is another name.
Is another name.
All right. So I'm going to say that the last blank is penis.
Not penis.
Vagina.
Not vagina.
Breastises.
Not breasts. That would be plural.
Booty.
No.
Anus.
No. None of those in any way.
So blank, 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 blanks.
Mm-hmm.
For serving blank, blank shaped like blank, blanks.
Blank at 2011 party.
Head.
No.
Damn.
No. Think darker.
Poop.
No.
For the love of God.
You're obsessed with this one blank. Maybe we try something else.
Is the name Meta World Peace?
Not Meta World Peace, but you're right to think of a celebrity with 3 names.
A celebrity with...
Known for having 3 names. Well, I would say definitely more famous than Meta World Peace.
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
That's 4 names.
Well, Van Damme might be one.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Famous.
3-name celebrity. A-list celebrity.
I'm not going to get this. With stuff like this, my instant recall is terrible.
Well, we all remember the Mike Tyson situation.
Blank, blank, blank. Laments. Is that the 4th word?
Not laments, but, you're dancing around it.
It's not regrets because that wouldn't make sense the way you word it. Regrets for serving.
Right. So think of what you would blank for. If you had regret, you might... oh boy!
Like if you make up for something,
you feel regret about it, so you should probably
apologize.
There we go. We're getting there. Apologizes.
Apologize
for serving blank blank, shaped like blank blanks blank, at 2011 party.
For serving cupcakes.
No.
Is it a dessert?
No.
Hot dogs.
No. But, I want to say you're closer. I just don't think. Like, oh, God, I just saw a picture. Holy hell. What the F?
Blank, blank, blank apologizes for serving
Oh, my God, this is twisted.
blank, blank shaped like blank, blank's blank at 2011 party. Oh, dude, I have no idea.
Oh, come on, man.
You said I'm kind of close with hot dogs?
Yeah, I want to say you're close, but I feel like it's going to take you the wrong way when you are.
Okay.
All right, well, let's try to work through this together. Okay. All right, I'm. This is your final week here. Clearly you're quitting because you just never really caught on with finish this.
I had a couple good runs with it.
But the point being, you're just supposed to guess absurd things, and you've always tried too hard to figure it out and solve the puzzle.
For serving potato salad.
You're just guessing one part of it. The idea was for it to be like a Mad Lib, for you to just start from the beginning and just say something
right, but
absurd.
It's not a Mad Lib because this is like a real thing.
No, but you can say in a Mad Lib that it's a name.
Real name.
You can say that. You could have just said Meta World Peace, fishes for serving.
Okay.
Like you can. It's just a Mad Lib. That's all it is.
All right.
You've just been hell-bent from day one about trying to solve these. You've always, in your mind, tried to prioritize solving the puzzle like it was a Wheel of Fortune type of situation.
See, I can't recall any A-list celebrity with 3 names. That's what I'm really struggling with.
Well, you came up with Meta World Peace.
That was the only one. That was the first
so
name.
Interesting to me that was the first one you came up with.
Yeah,
that was the name that you went to. Have you heard of Philip Seymour Hoffman, for example, has 3 names? That's not who it is.
But he did.
He is dead. You're right about
he
this.
Couldn't apologize
By the way, one of the parties involved with this story is also dead.
Huh.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting how that works, and might help you solve the final part of this.
Is the last word corpse?
Yes. How about that? The last word is corpse. Again, we've gone the exact opposite direction of what the finish this is supposed to be.
All right. So blank, blank, blank apologizes
We're just
for
trying to help
serving
Paul solve the puzzle now.
For serving barbecue chicken shaped like Anna Nicole's corpse at 2011 party.
I like where your head's at. I do. I like where your head's at. What I'll give you, we're just going to, because it's 11:37, so we're going to have to wrap up. The 3-name person is Neil Patrick Harris. Not sure if you've heard of him. Pretty famous 3-name person.
Yeah.
Pretty well-known 3-name human.
See, I just can't imagine him doing something offensive.
You know, I can't believe how offensive this was. This is why, like, it's cheeky because the headline is so bombastic, but then you see it and you're like, what the F? Neil Patrick Harris apologizes for serving meat platter shaped like Amy Winehouse's corpse.
Shoo!
And here's the picture.
What
in the F?
That's a meat platter?
I don't know how that's a meat platter exactly.
Maybe that's your actual corpse.
I swear to God. What in the
Let me see. There's no way that's a real corpse. There's no way that's a meat platter.
It definitely looks like a real corpse to me. This is
good.
Apparently, Jesse Tyler Ferguson's husband took a picture and tweeted it out all those years ago. The story from Mediaite. Neil Patrick Harris has apologized after facing backlash for serving a meat platter shaped like Amy Winehouse's corpse at a 2011. How did this come up? Quote, a photo recently resurfaced from a Halloween-themed party my husband and I hosted 11 years ago, unquote, Harris said in the statement to Entertainment Weekly. Quote, it was regrettable then, and it remains regrettable now. Amy Winehouse was a once-in-a-generation talent, and I'm sorry for any hurt this image caused, unquote. What the heck? At only 20, all right, blah, 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 blah. A picture of the platter posted by Jesse Tyler Ferguson's husband, Justin Mitt, and deleted shortly after, showed a sign that read, quote, the corpse of Amy Winehouse, unquote. The sign also detailed what was included in the platter. Beef ribs, pulled pork, chicken sausage, and a spicy barbecue sauce. How does that... What? I don't have the words, man. Celebrities, they are not like us.
That was disturbing. It
They are not
was a
like us, man.
Halloween party, so that at least makes it
I have no idea what the thought process was.
That looks like a real corpse. Also, I think I
legitimately
found the
does.
Susan Waldman video.
Oh, did you? All right, if you
It's
want
52 seconds long.
Yeah, it's about right. Quickly, because we do have to wrap up and turn things over to Simply the Bets here in a second.
Probably going to be an ad.
Good. Yeah, this is a nice ad at the front of everything. I'm not. I can do an ad, and I tell you that after we listen to Susan Waldman, the tidbit is going to be brought to you by Glory Days Grill. The spring seasonal menu is available now at Glory Days Grill, featuring the opener, the flash-fried pork belly, as well as the Cracker Jack Sundae and more. You only got 2 weeks. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in and enjoy all of the delicious items on Glory Days Grill spring seasonal menu. We good?
Thank you all.
No, that's not it. That's Roger Clemens addressing the crowd.
Well, they came and got me out of Texas, and I can tell you it's a privilege to be back. I'll be talking to y'all soon.
I think it leads into her.
Well, you just heard it. Roger Clemens from George Steinbrenner's owner's box just announced to the stadium crowd that he is coming back. So I guess they got him to come back a little bit sooner than he said he was going to. And Al, I guess the Yankees have themselves a fourth starter.
No, that's the TV broadcast. It's not even the radio broadcast.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not. Well, we just wasted that time. We'll never get that back. All good. That's the video that I found that wasn't working. Whatever. You'll find it. Just search for it. Susan Waldman freaking out about Roger Clemens. Now, go ahead with tidbits.
All right. Hang on. Forgot that you already did the read. My sincerest apologies. All right, so last night the Orioles lost to the Yankees 6-2, collecting 3 hits in the process, 2 of which were solo home runs off the bat of Anthony Santander, 1 from each side of the plate. In the last 4 games, all losses, the Orioles have scored 5 runs, all coming on solo home runs from Santander, 3, and Trey Mancini, 2. According to ESPN Stats and Info, the Orioles are now 0-6 when Anthony Santander hits multiple home runs in a game. Santander is the only player in Major League history to lose the first 6 multi-home run games of his career. What 2 players have the most multi-home run games in Major League history? And then bonus question, what active player has the most 3 home run games in Major League history?
I'm just going to guess it's Albert Pujols.
No.
Active player?
Mm-hmm.
Miguel Cabrera.
No.
How about... This is a tricky one. How about Mike Trout?
No. He's been in the league a shorter time than Mike Trout.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts has 6 between the Red Sox
he's really good.
And the Dodgers.
And who have the most all time? Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds, and actually he has the most in NL history, but he's 2nd overall. So he has 71.
Hank Aaron. Oh, I guess he would be NL. So this is the person who has the most in American League history?
He's tied with Bonds. He has 71 in the American League, but he had 1 in the National League, so he has 72.
Babe Ruth?
Babe Ruth.
Okay. It's a pretty logical choice.
Has the most of all time.
All right, fair enough. I'm glad I went with the easy answers that time and didn't overthink it. All right, Tubular is brought to you by the Baltimore Police. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police. Make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day 1. Join for good, bpdrecruit.org. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise for this evening. Orioles continue their series against the Yankees. Yes, Spencer Watkins against Jamison Taillon. It is on Masson tonight at 7 o'clock. Also coming up tonight, a lot of I'll get back. No, I'll just go ahead now and give you all the baseball, and then we'll touch on everything else. The baseball, Masson 2, Nationals, Marlins 6:40, TBS, Astros, Red Sox at 7, MLB Network, Diamondbacks, Dodgers at 10. Maryland baseball plays their regular season finale against James Madison, or their home regular season finale, against James Madison at 5 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. ESPN, the NBA Draft Lottery at 8. The Eastern Conference Finals get underway. Celtics Heat Game 1 at 8:30. TNT, Lightning Panthers Game 1 at 7. Blues Avalanche Game 1 at 9:30. CBS Sports Network, the Washington Mystics take on the Dallas Wings at 8 o'clock. On MeTV, which is WBAL's sub-channel, I believe, the MAIAA MIAA A Conference Lacrosse semifinals. McDonough and Boys Latin at 5. Calvert Hall St. Mary's at 7:30. USA for Southampton and Liverpool at 2:45. Then WWE NXT at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
There's really not a lot going on tonight. One of your favorite shows, Mr. Mayor, at 8:30 on NBC.
I do love Mr. Mayor.
Nick Jonas from your favorite band, the Jonas Brothers, is going to be on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. And honestly, it's just stuff and things. There's really nothing else going on.
Gracious. Of all the dramatic things I've ever seen, Roger Clemens standing right in George Steinbrenner's box announcing he is back. Roger Clemens is a New York Yankee, and there we go.
Susan Waldman freaking out
ever
all those
seen
years
Roger
ago.
Clemens.
So excited about it. All right, there you go. It's totally tubular. Thanks today to John Tillman as well as to Patrick Stevens. We'll get those things up in the greatest hits section of the
archives
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. On the program tomorrow, Muggsy Bogues will join us. We will have our MLB draft segment with Jonathan Mayo. Drew, I imagine, will be checking in to talk some PGA Championship stuff and things. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Royal Farms, Glory Days Grill, the Baltimore Police, Grade 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Paul at Paul Valley III on Twitter. Thanks to Ryan at RexSpexRyan. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. When we come back in, if you're with us on audio, do nothing.